Hello and welcome to another episode of New World to Go. I'm your host, Redbird, and with me is BDLG. Bordy, we got some new stuff to talk about. The spring event is upon us. Our server got merged, including a few others. We're going to talk about that as well. And we have probably 13 Forged in Eternum videos, because at this point they're putting them out daily. I don't know what to think about it, but you do because you watch them. So let's hop right in here. New skin is available in the store. The Highwayman. I didn't look at it. I didn't look at it today while I was playing. What do you think of the skin?
I looked at them during stream. It's like a whole set of skins, for this I guess season, not season, but for how they roll out skins. So this is like a whole new set of skins. They're okay. Some of them are not bad, man. There's one in there I like that's pretty good. They're definitely, I would say, a step up from the skins previously. So I'm not mad at them. They're okay. I may buy one of them out of there.
A step up from the ones before I thought were really good. The sun.
You like the wings?
Not the wing. No, I don't like the butterfly wings. But there were a couple good skins in the previous one, the Season of Fire skins.
Yeah, I bought one of those too. The red was it a red one that had the glow or whatever on it? It had the really cool mask on there. I think one of them was cool. I think that's the same one. Yeah. And nonetheless, I think they're getting better. These skins are pretty cool. They're not bad. I think they're actually decent.
Yeah. So okay, I'll have to check those out later. Don't forget to check that out. It's in the store right now. If you're playing the game, the Springtide Bloom is happening now, April 26th through May 23rd. I did get to try this. This is all happening. This will all be recorded. If you're listening to this on the podcast, it's probably yesterday. But it all has went live. The new spring event. This makes the fourth and final season event, I assume, that we'll experience in New World. Right? We have now the Sturgeon Eternum, or the summer event.
Summer medley. Yeah.
Summer medley. We have Hollow's Veil event, and then we have the Winter Convergence. So the final event, and this one is interesting because it is a group-oriented activity, but it's not a raid boss that, I think some people get tired of doing. This is in my opinion, an even more tiresome event, and it is basically you're training little wisps around to try to get them to go into explosive flower bombs, and you can't deal damage to them unless they get kited into these flower bombs. It's been one day, so I can't really, I guess, blame some people to not know what's going on. But every time I've done the event, there's somebody trolling in the middle of the circle, pulling the wisps away from the bombs. And it's like, what is the purpose of this, Bordy? You wrote the guide on New World fans. What the fudge are we doing with the bombs and the wisps? And
well, it's very easy if you do it yourself. I don't think this event's intended for a mass amount of people like a big world boss. You got to go find them and do it with a small group, or do it yourself, and it's incredibly easy to do. It takes 2 seconds. It's super easy. But the problem is those wisps, they're the wasps, I think they're calling them.
Wasps, not wisps. Yeah, the wisp of wasps. I don't know what the fudge.
They aggro on the whole group. So you got to group up. If you're in a group, you have to all stack on the spots where you plant the bombs. They'll all come to you. If you don't, they go everywhere. So I was doing it earlier today, and I went to this a couple of the spots. There was like 50 people there. It was just mass chaos. I mean, it took 45 minutes to do one of those stupid events because the people were scattered all over. So yeah, it's definitely not meant to be a large scale thing. You got to find spots where there's not a ton of people, and then it's very easy to do.
Yeah, they're spread out all over the world, right? They're not just near the ones I had found, which I only teleported to the event hubs, but I just found them outside the event hub. But they spawn everywhere, right? Is that correct?
I think so. I've just found them outside the event hubs too. I haven't done any. That's where I found them on the PTR as well. I don't know. They might spawn all over the world. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll have to. The only ones I found were around the event hubs, so that at least there's that. And they were just a poop show today. The event just started though, so hopefully as the event continues, they'll get a little bit better. But the rewards are worth it. A lot of the patterns that are available during the Springtide event are worth farming out. So make sure you do that as well. Okay, we got 3 Forged in Eternums, and I believe 1 came out today. I don't know if you added that one on there or not.
I did, yeah.
So we have the languages of Eternum, the community QA for April 2023, and then the Balance of Power 2023. So why don't we hit the highlights here, Bordy, of the Forged in Eternum events or the videos?
Yeah, it's storming super hard here. So if I go black, my electricity's out. It just got real crazy. But the first one, the one for the languages of Eternum, it's kind of a fluff video, behind the scenes look at how they do the languages. Not for everybody, you know. If you're into that kind of thing, when that behind the scenes look, it's kind of an interesting watch, I guess. Not my favorite one. I like the ones that have a little substance to them. The community Q&A and the Balance of Power were both pretty good, I thought. The community Q&A had some very interesting things in there, including talk about Ward and Banes, which I think we're going to talk about a little bit later. Did you watch it, Red? Do you know what we're talking about?
No, I have no idea.
All right, so Ward and Bane, Scott mentioned at the very end of the Q&A, he mentioned that they are looking into Ward and Bane. They know it's a problem, and they're looking to figure out what to do. He said they may remove some of them. They may do something for it, but they're looking at it very heavily over the course of the next few months. So that was pretty encouraging to me, because that's been a problem for the game for a long time. So we'll see how they handle that. I have a few ideas. I think we're going to talk about that here in just a minute, but that's the topic for the last one, since you didn't do your homework. Then we have, like, the Balance of Power is pretty interesting too. I would recommend you go watch that one if you haven't watched it yet. It's well, I mean, I guess not. If you've read the patch notes, that's basically what the Balance of Power was. I think it was recorded probably before the patch notes were put out. But those are pretty good if you're into combat and want to know what's going on and why the balance is what it is. I think Dave is doing a great job with that. I would assume he took over Dave Hall's job, seems like. I think Dave Verifai is now the creative director, but it seems like he's doing just all the combat
every
stuff
job.
too.
Yeah,
it just seems like he's a one-man show doing a lot of stuff. But he since he's very, it seems like he's on top of it though. I mean, he seems like he knows what he's talking about. I don't know if it's scripted or not. You know, you never can tell. But Dave's a nice guy, and it seems like he knows what he's talking about. And I think the balance changes, in my opinion, were really good. I think we're gonna talk about those here in a little bit too. But that's what the Forged in Eternums were. The language one, a little bit of fluff if you like that. The other two give a little bit of substance if you want to watch those. I would recommend watching them. They're not bad.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about the changes, the balance changes. Some of these were included in update 1.9.2, which is now available. It happened. Wait, the update 1.9.2 happened during the server merges, right? Or was that
today? It went live today.
Okay, so today with the Springtide Bloom event, which was some changes to the fire staff, the bow. Those changes. So yeah, I've read those patch notes. That's available now too. We can link the patch notes in the show notes as well for you guys to talk about. But we're going to discuss those a little bit later, so we won't go too far into them right now. Just know that update 1.9.2 is here. Okay, so since last episode, let's do this. A lot of things have changed. In our experience in New World. We got merged from our lovely server of Orofina, which I think was our 4th server, into our 5th server, which is Marama. So let's talk about that right now. We're on as I checked yesterday, which it could have changed since the show, we're on the most populated non-fresh start NAE server. So what's your experience been like? Since then, you've had at least 24 hours on Marama. How has the game changed for you, man? How is the new server?
I mean, really, the only thing that's changed is now we can get into OPRs and arenas whenever we want, which is nice. I like that. That's really awesome. It's a good feeling. Other than that, same type of game. It's good. It's good to be merged though. It's good to be back on a populated server instead of on a dead server. On Orofina, it was getting a little bit old, not being able to do activities whenever you wanted to do them. So now at least during my early morning stream slot, I can do arenas and OPR, which is great because before I was stuck not doing them. But in the meantime, I started my character. His name is Dog Watterson. Yeah, he's a cowboy. Started a character on Marama in preparation for the merge. We're doing an Iron Man run. I decided I succumbed to the Iron Man run, and so I've been doing that. It's been kind of fun though. It's something different, something to shake it up. It's been interesting. I've been enjoying it.
Yeah, you're right. It's the same thing. This is and again, this is the 5th time we've done this. Since we started, I'm pretty sure.
You look a little put out today, right? You look a little...
Takamagahara, Eden, or Ohono, Orafina, and now Marama. So I believe that's 5. We've always been the smaller server merging into the larger server. We've always had this dead period where the game is almost unplayable until we get merged. We don't run at like competitive. We don't have like a competitive wars company. Before it was like a little bit more complicated because we had a lot of people that we had to tell and notify when we were changing or merging and all that other things. So, I don't know. This is what's kind of crazy is I think like the only solution to this problem is to have the cross server thing, which is coming with summer, I believe, right? But it's only OPRs that are coming in the summer. So that's going to be like a fix to one of the systems. But what are they going to do when the expansions come back, right? A lot of people say, well, let's have more fresh start servers or let's, you know what I mean? I don't know. Like, to me, the only move is to increase the population on the servers, right? At this point, they've already narrowed it down to like, I don't know how many NAE servers are, but it's not a lot. And this is the biggest region for the game. So what do you think about like this dance of servers that continues to happen?
Well, it sucks, man, and I don't know what the solution is either. I've said it since I think like episode 1 or 2 of the New World to Go podcast. I've been preaching this forever, that the 2 major problems that plague this game are servers and territory control, and it holds true still today. Those are the 2 things that hold this game back from really, really growing, and I don't know that those things are even fixable. I don't know that those are, and it's not that I don't think the devs are capable. That is not the case at all. I think they're plenty capable. I mean, I think they're plenty capable to do a lot of things. I think it comes down to like money invested into the game, and I think changing those things would be like, I mean, probably a very expensive endeavor and one that I don't know that they're going to go down. So I don't know that we'll ever see a permanent fix for servers or for territory control, to be honest with you. I don't know that either of those situations are ever going to get resolved, but in my opinion, those 2 things, those 2 big things is what holds New World back from being a massive MMO. If it wasn't, there's a lot of quality of life things within there, like the Ward and Bane discussion we're going to have here in a minute. But those things are like quality of life things that can be fixed over time. Those are not big overarching mechanics or overarching, gameplay issues. Servers, territory control, both suck in New World, and I don't know what they're ever going to do to fix them. But I hope they come up with a solution. Cross server will help, but I don't know. To answer your question, Brad, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do moving forward, other than maybe increase the cap on the servers somehow, which I don't think that's going to happen because I don't think the servers can handle that. Right now, there's already lag and whatever. Anyway, whenever you get in real populated areas, so I'm not sure, dude. I'm not sure unless they spread out servers and then have cross server everything. Then I don't think it'd be an issue, because the only thing then would be like being on a smaller server or less populated server. You'd be able to harvest materials easier, but then you'd at least be able to participate in everything. But then that goes back to the whole territory control thing. How do they do that with wars? You can't, right? You can't do it. You can't have cross server wars and cross server territory, because it's just, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to fix it. I have no idea what they're going to do if they have a big boon of players. Open up new servers and go through the same cycle of this again, I guess.
Yeah, it's to your point about I don't know if they can fix the infrastructure of the server, or the territory control thing. I think the only like real like long-term fix would be to move the game in a direction that these are like these servers are actually a shard, or looked at as a shard, and then every like potential game mode other than maybe open world, because that's hard to pull off. I mean, like games like ESO that are super servers still have like sharded, areas and stuff. So
can't do that. You can't do that because you have territory control. You have wars.
That's what
you
I'm
have
saying.
People pushing
outside of that, the only other thing the other solution to it is to just make everything cross server. And then you can open up servers that are essentially shards. The only problem is territory control, which we know needs adjusted to some extent anyway. So I really think like that's, other than like increasing the max population of a server, which is, again, we're gonna have stability issues and everything like that. That's the only way they can go, because otherwise we're just gonna keep doing the open up more servers and then close them down. Open up more servers, close them down, and it's
an
really
exhausting cycle.
It
It's
really is
exhausting.
because the game is unplayable in on the low pop servers. Now, if you're like a guy that really plays guy or gal that likes to enjoy the game and on a solo basis, like to gather and like have your own economy and run a like Iron Man type gameplay experience, then sure, then you want to be on a low pop server. But I really like the game does or shines. I think the best when there's a lot of people on the server. You can get into M10s and OPRs and arenas and anything that there's constant like world events going on with chest runs, and if there's an event going on, there's a lot of people that help complete it, like the world bosses. Like that's the way New World like shines, or at least presents itself as like some sort of like formable MMO. But outside of that, man, it's interesting to think about like how does New World scale up, and this server thing, like we've both been saying for a long time, is a big problem for the game, and I don't know what the solution is either. Like the only thing I can see is like just their long-term plan is cross server activities across the board, and just kind of letting territory control kind of be what it is, but not really having it as like a main focus of the game at some point. So I don't know. We'll see. But I guess there it is, man. We just got merged again for the 5th time. The springtime event, the Springtide Bloom event, is available now. It is like we said, the final of the 4 seasonal events that are being introduced into New World. It is centered around the event hub that we're accustomed to with the main 4 seasonal events. This time around, like we said earlier in the show, you basically collect these bombs instead of like Christmas tree presents or sturgeons or fish or whatever the fudge you connected from the summer one. You collect these bombs, and these bombs you go off into the wilderness and set off on these wisp farms or wisp farms or whatever, and they blow up, and then you take your flower petals, and then that is like your sub currency that you turn in for like premium and non-premium tokens. I don't know, man. This event. Here's the thing. I now have found it pretty monotonous to go to 13 or 14 different towns and collect the bombs. Which would be
defeated, man. It's just cracking.
Well, it's fine. It's okay. But it's like, you know what I mean? Like the events are all the same, and I'm not like, it's something new to do. It breaks up the like overall gameplay, of New World, and kind of gives you a little bit of something else to do. But I don't know, man. You start off your day when these events are live. You start off your day and you fast travel for like 30 minutes. Are you having fun or
from settlement to settlement?
Yeah, it's like I gotta go, and if you want to be efficient, you gotta go and collect your butter or whatever.
Well, it's designed the same way. Every event is designed the same exact way. They have a foundation for these events, and they just continue to reuse it over and over for the event. So it would be nice to get a little bit of a shake-up. This event is a little bit different, but yeah, I agree. They do get a little stagnant, a little stale over time, and I think most players share that sentiment. I mean, that's kind of what Global was blowing up with today whenever I was on, and it was almost comical, some of the comments that were happening, but it was also a little bit sad.
Well, just imagine like being a player that gets to play like for an hour or two every day, and during these events, half of your game time is fast traveling and then clicking on the middle like present pool and then fast traveling again. It's like, I don't know, like is that?
So what would be a better solution? What is a better solution for an event than that?
I mean, honestly, I don't, here's the thing is usually these events have currency. You got to have a way to find currency. So I understand like giving these freebie currencies, that's essentially what the present pool or whatever in each town is. But really like I at this point, I would just like to see some variance between each of them. Not having like to do like Christmas tree thing made sense. You're just going around collecting gifts. But I mean, here's the thing: to me, the summer sturgeon event is the one that's like the most unique out of all of like that separates itself from like the other main event, which I would consider to be like the winter convergence, because you get to go out, you fish, you play music for Monolin bugs. Like it's a cool thing, but the middle ones, which is like the World Bus for the Halloween event, and then the spring event, which I think are very similar in size, right? I think the summer and the winter event are like the largest events, and then the spring and the fall ones are like the mid-sized, right? Because this one only has 3 ranks, similar to the Halloween event.
Yeah, you rank up super quick, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm already max level. I didn't try. I just went out and did like the pedal farm for a while. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer. Maybe their goal is to build upon these as each year kind of comes around and kind of make them more detailed and stuff. I'm just saying like the core gameplay is a little bit stagnant as far as like going from town to town to do the fast travel thing. If they could just find a quick runaround, like maybe just have us travel across the 4 event hubs, that would at least reduce it by, I mean, it's literally like, I think 17 or 18 fast travels to start your day every time.
Go to 4 of the events and just give
us enough.
More.
Yeah.
Give the same amount, but just give more.
That'd be a nice middle ground. Yeah. Cause right now it's each territory and the 4 event hubs that you got to travel around to get your free stuff. And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. I went to all the territories this morning, and then I was done, and then somebody in chat was like, yo, dude, you still have to go to all the 4 events. I was like, crap, I guess I still got to go to all those. I had to go to all those too. Yeah, it is a lot. It is a lot of fast traveling around. But it is what it is. I don't necessarily mind these events. I mean, doing the Springtide Bloom event, and I put this in the show notes at this section too in the news. We were just telling you where it was. And this one, I just wanted to get your thoughts on, like, if you like the event. And I guess I already have those thoughts. The answer from you is pretty clear, I think. But
I like that they're providing the events. I just think that the addition to like your common game, like your daily gameplay, is not. I don't think it's like substantial, if that makes sense. Like it's not fun. In a way, it's just not fun. Like. I'm training a wasp around to bombs, and then I'm fast traveling. Like that is the event. I'm not trying to be funny or anything. Like that's what you do. Unless you do, is there something I'm missing? I don't know. It's day 1, so
no,
I'm not like I haven't like
bombs. You use the bombs, you explode the things, and you basically kite the wasps into the explosions, and then you kill them, and you collect the flower, and then you move on to the next one and rinse and repeat over and over. That's what you do. That is the event. Which again, I don't know if these events are necessarily designed to sit there and just grind them out over and over and over.
I think people just do it.
People just do it. That's how players are. That's what players are going to do, though. That's what players are going to do, no matter what. They're going to go in and they're going to grind these events, just like the season track. Like it's not designed to go in there and just blast through it in 2 days, but that's what players do, man. They'll just go in there and just grind it out. But it's fine to have this type of more casual content in the game, though, like the season track where you have 3 months, you go through there, you do these things as you go through 3 months of progression. That's how it's intended to be played, and I think these events are very similar. You like get your stuff every day. You kind of do 30 minutes of your seasonal event, and then you move on, do other stuff in the games. But a lot of players don't play it that way, and so then they get burned out. So that's why it's kind of hard, I think, to design these things for that, because no matter what you do, players are going to do that, and then I think some people are going to get burned out. So it is what it is. I don't mind the event if I'm doing it by myself, but whenever you get into a group like that for this particular event, it becomes just an absolute nightmare. So it is what it is, man. I don't know. I think they could improve upon them, and hopefully they will in the future.
Yeah, the rewards of the event are amazing. They've got some really good patterns you want to grind out. They actually have the legendaries this time allow you to lock in physical aversion and refreshing, which are 2 big meta perks. So you definitely want to do the event and make sure that you buy the legendary patterns. They'll be valuable for quite a while, just similar to the summer event, which is coming up soon, which I think allowed you to do elemental aversion and freedom. Or elemental aversion, and I know for sure elemental aversion and some other perks. So these are worth getting. You want to definitely, at least do your daily stuff, aka fast travel. The next thing, or this is interesting too, because I just kind of read this at the glance of my eye. I think I was on Twitter, like in the gym or maybe like in a meeting or something, and I saw that they're shutting down the forums, which is crazy. But as a observer, I've never really been a participant in the forums. It's just a complete cesspool of toxicity, anyway. So I wasn't surprised to hear it, but I was a little bit, it was very interesting to hear that they'd made that decision. So what do you think about the forums being closed down for New World, Bordy? That's kind of crazy to even say out loud.
Bro, it's a wild thing, man. I don't know why they're doing it, but it's not just New World. They're closing them down for Lost Ark too, from what I understand. I haven't seen that news personally myself. I've only seen the New World news, but my chat was telling me this morning they're closing them down for Lost Ark as well. So I'm assuming that AGS is just moving away from that. They're moving into the Discord route. I don't know how Discord's going to handle like a forum style feedback. I'm not real sure.
I don't know.
I don't think it really can. Like it's hard to navigate around Discord, man. It's hard to navigate around it. It's hard to I don't know. I'm not a huge fan.
Well,
I mean, I get on the forums and it's easy to navigate and find information. I mean, now granted, most of it is like just a bunch of crying, like yeah. And most people that post, like, listen, some people post there have valid points, but there's a lot of just like people who clearly have no idea what they're talking about, and they'll post just absolute just nonsense out there. Same thing with Reddit. They'll just get on there and they probably have 50 hours in the game and they just think they're an expert and post absolute nonsense out there about what they think. And it's just like, okay. And it gets, that gets old. So I can't say I blame them for closing it down, but as a player, it's very weird. I've never seen anything like this happen. So I don't really know what the play is here. I don't really know why they did it. There is a statement here. We could read that, I guess, if you wanted to, so we can see like what it's pretty long, but I can read it real quick.
Okay.
I'll just read some of it. I mean, it's okay. I'll just read some of it. As we continue to explore new and amazing opportunities to meet and engage with our players, there'll be times where we evaluate our current ways of engaging players. Forums are a vulnerable staple of the history of online gaming and have served as a primary point of contact for gamers and developers for quite some time. With the launch of our official New World Discord, along with the features, functionality, and accessibility for players, we have made the decision to embrace Discord as our primary engagement platform from New World moving forward. To help us add as much value as possible to our Discord server, we'll be sunsetting the New World forums. This is pretty crazy, dude. Our plans on Discord are constantly evolving, and we'll be looking to utilize the platform to the fullest extent. We'll be finding ways to have engagement opportunities that encompass all aspects of Discord, such as live voice, gameplay, streaming, live chat, and forum threads. We'll also offer easier and more intuitive access to community-run initiatives like looking for group, company promotion, etc. You'll also find us I found this pretty interesting as well. You'll also find us investing time into growing our presence on the New World subreddit. So be sure to keep an eye out there as well. So it's just weird, man.
AKA a forum.
AKA a forum. So the only thing I can
that they don't moderate.
They don't moderate it, exactly. So they are cutting down their moderation because there is a Discord that they're moderating. There's a forum that they're moderating. They're having to try to be active on Reddit. So they're all over the place. And I would imagine it spreads them pretty thin. So I think shutting down the forums, it just consolidates it to Discord, and then they don't moderate Reddit. So then they just go over there and they can just talk on Reddit, I guess. So I don't know, man. It's an odd situation. Maybe this is the future. Maybe all games will move to this in the future. I don't know, but it just seems like it's going to be very difficult to get good posts on Discord. I don't know. It's odd. It's a very weird thing.
Yeah. So here's okay. So I know you didn't play the last Dark and Darker test, but we the Dark and Darker test was it was crazy. It was like a ninja, like some sort of back alley test that was just chaotic. They basically put out a torrent that got banned, and they had to go to Twitter and post links, and they eventually got it from a torrent.
Discord. It was a poop show over there.
So they only used the Discord for communication essentially, and oh my gosh, was it just an absolute like chaotic.
I seen it was just spamming hold the line, and there was like
it was hold the
line,
insane,
and yeah.
Bro. It was crazy, and there was moderation over there, but the Discord was just insane. It was just a really interesting environment, and Reddit has its purposes. I think it's like Reddit's essentially meant to be some sort of like journalistic like publication. I think like what I mean, like an opportunity for. It's like a newspaper for whatever subtopic it's about. But it's interesting that it is moderated by community members. It's not So I think the transition from a a more formally moderated forum to a less formally moderated one, or at least like as far as formal like AGS moderated, is interesting to me. It makes sense. It already exists, so I'm sure they'll just be over there. But the Discord thing, I can't see being a great way. You know, they did start what, a second or third Discord at this point.
I don't know. I don't know why they keep having them. There's like 2 Amazon Games one, and then they started the New World official one.
Yeah, there's like 3 of them at this point.
Yeah,
so
I'm not real sure.
We'll
yeah,
see.
It's weird.
We'll see what happens. But yeah, just interesting that they shut the forums down. I mean, like, again, not surprised because of the toxicity that happens over there. But Reddit also has a little bit of toxicity here and then, and Discord can be an absolute poop show. So all these things need to be moderated. Obviously, they're not going to moderate their own Reddit, but they will moderate their own Discord, which, again, we'll see which one of the 3 they choose to make their official communication line. But yeah, the forums are shut down, so enjoy spamming, you know, whatever you want in the forums. When do they shut down? It's soon, right?
Let me see. It says starting May the 1st, we're removing the ability for users to post to the forums, but we'll be having them remain viable so that any sort of content that users like to save will be available for them.
Okay.
It doesn't have a date where they just take it down. Maybe they're, I don't know. I'm sure they'll take them down fully at some point. But
yeah, May 1st. Okay. So May 1st is the last time you can post. Got it.
Yep.
And then that's that, man. Forums for New World are gone. If you were an enjoyer, no longer will you enjoy them, or at least you'll be able to look at them, but no longer poop post. So enjoy that. Balance passes in 1.9.2. Our thoughts on the timing, the adjustments. Let's talk about the timing. Overall, very good. I think that they made a responsive, or at least like semi adjustment to the meta within like what? Okay, so the timeline for the patch is about a month, right? It's been close to a month since they instituted a lot of those sweeping changes. They instituted the seasonal pass, and a lot of the changes to fortification and everything like that, the big changes that like really shook up what we consider to be the meta, happened. And then a month later, like they said, they did promise that they would adjust this more frequently. They made a change boardy. So good path, good track record there so far. We're 1 for 1. What do you think about the timing of the changes and the changes that they made with patch 1.9.2?
I think it's good, man. They said that they were going to make more frequent updates and patches, and we were wondering if that was actually going to happen, and they did. And I thought it was great. I think that the game needs this. We don't need to go 6 months without any kind of updates like we did before. That was awful for the game. I think it was almost detrimental for New World, if we're being perfectly honest. I think they lost a lot of trust from a lot of players whenever they did that. And I think it was just an absolute mess whenever they went 6 months. But I also think there's a lot of underlying things that we as players probably don't know or understand that happened during that point. I mean, whenever you really break it down, this is just me looking from the outside in. I have no idea. But you have 2 key people leaving. Mike Willett left, Dave Hall left. Those are 2 key people in higher positions, higher developer positions. I don't know what the hierarchy is for developers, but they left. And I know Mike Hall was the combat lead. And whenever you lose him, you have to have somebody step up and replace that position and gain knowledge in what he was doing. And I think Dave Verifai apparently is the person stepping up and doing that. And so it probably took him a little time to transition into that. You also have Mike Willett. Somebody had to transition in and fix that stuff or take over that stuff. So it seems like that was kind of the holdup, if I had to guess. There was some internal things happening over there at the studio that caused them to have that long delay. Nonetheless, it still sucked. It wasn't great to have that delay. So now I feel like it seems like they're in a much better spot and in a much more stable spot. And it definitely seems like Dave Verifai at least has a handle on what's going on. Or at least, it seems like it from the outside looking in. And so these patches or these notes, to me, I think are good. I think they're headed in the right direction. I am not mad at these. I most definitely think the bow needed the nerf. Some bow users are probably gonna be really angry at that. I don't care. We've been in a ranged meta for so very long. It most definitely needed hit. The fire staff also most definitely needed looked at. I mean, we really it's going to be very hard for them to get into a meta where both melee and range coexists and is pretty balanced and everyone's having a good time. That's going to be very, very difficult to do. But I think with these updates, seems like they're headed into the right direction. And hopefully we'll see these smaller adjustments along the way. And that's what he was talking about in the balance of power update too. He was talking about how they are going to do these smaller balance adjustments, and then with each season, there's going to be massive, big sweeping changes. He said in season 3, we're going to see some big perk overhauls because there's going to be some other changes, I guess, with gearing in that season that's coming. So I think that's the season that's probably going to increase gear score or something like that. I can't remember exactly what's on the roadmap, but overall, man,
yeah.
I think this is great news. Like this, if we're going to have a positive out of this episode, I think this is it. I am very happy with the changes, to be honest. I think all of the changes that they made in the balance pass are good. I don't see any that's just like, oh, why the heck did they do that? That's stupid. I think they're fine. I think they're really good. I think they're healthy for the game, and I'm excited to see them push forward with balance changes every month to see how close they can get to a really fun meta. Because, dude, the meta has not been super fun for a very long time. I got so bored in OPR for a long time. I just refused to queue up. I hated it. It was so boring. And now it's actually, I played one today. I had a good time. So hopefully they'll continue to work on it.
Yeah, it is really good to see the changes. They were all changes, I think, in the right direction. Obviously the bow and the fire staff needed adjustments. They got that. I'm not sure how significant they are. The bow one seems like it could be significant. I don't play any bow, so it's hard to, I think bow users would be more obviously able to comment on how extreme the changes would be. But the fire staff I do play a lot of. The pillar of fire perk reduction is somewhat significant. I think that is just basically spamming pillar of fire, which I don't think is good gameplay. So removing that is great. And then the heavy attack decrease in damage, I think is fine too, because number one, it's an AOE now, and then it can be transformed into AOE if you take that perk. And then obviously the fact that the fortification was just basically useless. It seems like they're trying to edge that back into some sort of viability for like medium and heavy builds. Overall, they increase the amount of mitigation that medium and heavy armor provide, which I don't know about you, but sometimes the way that they state these patch notes are a little confusing, because like no one wears all medium, no one wears all heavy gear. Like it's like, they should probably say equip load, I think, or
I think that's what they mean.
Make adjustment per equip load versus, but then that's impossible to do because it
does just mean medium armor.
Yeah, it's crazy. To me, like the game, I really think in the future they should just make it, because I don't think anybody's like, who is like coming up with scientific ways to make a light equip load build at this point. There's only 2 ways to do it efficiently. You know what I mean? Medium builds. There's only really 2 ways to do it. It's like, just make, if you wear all light, you're light. If you wear all medium, you're medium. If you wear all heavy, you're heavy. And then they can really like start to titrate the benefits of these. But until then, like, it's just so strange that they don't titrate things based on that, because you know what I mean? Like, how could they really say that your mitigation is increasing by 2% if you're like wearing like, if your equip weight's like 19, like you're not, you know what I mean? It's like you're a medium load, but you're not wearing the right armor. Like, it's like that's something they need to fix in the future for sure, because it is confusing, I think, to players. But overall, they're trying to make obviously medium and heavy loads more viable, I guess. I mean, it said medium armor, so maybe it's just medium pieces, but.
Well, he said in the balance of power, they still see a lot of people like just a lot of light melee still. He said dominates OPR whenever there's melee players.
Well, because they have to be mobile, because range is awful right now. So
exactly, because range will just absolutely eat you up if you're in heavy or you're in medium, because you can't move. And that's the point he was making. So I think they're trying to increase the mitigation of those armor types so people can actually use them in OPR without getting deleted by ranged. So they're trying to hone it in a little bit, which I think is fine. But yeah, I agree with your statements there with the light, medium, and heavy. Sometimes simpler is better. Sometimes things don't need to be overcomplicated. And I feel like New World sometimes does a fantastic job of just making something that could be simple and very effective just very overly complicated. A lot of the damage formulas that I've seen in the past, and a lot of the other things that I've seen is just like, bro, why? Why is this like this? Like, this could be so much more simplified, and it like, more complicated does not equal better, or does not equal more fun, or does not equal, superior. A lot of times, just
that's right.
Not always. A lot of times, simple is better, you know. So I don't know. It's weird. I don't know if they'll ever do that though. I think that's maybe a pipe dream, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't understand why they wouldn't. It's challenging because to me, or at least to my knowledge, like, or one of the more prominent games that does like the light, medium, and heavy equip load is ESO. And they, you have like an entire tree that fleshes out what your benefits of light, medium, and heavy armor are. But you're stuck in that armor. Like, you don't get to like toy around with like, a little bit of mitigation here and there. And I think the system works fine. I think they could even expand upon the system if they actually had a concrete amount of mitigation involved with it. But right now it's because they can't really like say like, okay, well, medium armor gets adjusted by this much. Okay, well then, like, if you're in a light load, you're still going to get the mitigation benefit because you can wear 2 pieces of medium, so you're going to get more. You know what I mean? I don't know. Nonetheless, we've probably talked about this too much. I just think that needs a little bit of attention there. But they did try to make medium and heavy more viable. I played OPR today. Nothing seems like it's changed personally. I think bow fire staff still pretty good, and obviously if you're going to run melee, it's you're either going to run like a really highly mobile build in light, or you're going to run like a 5-stack still.
What have you been running in OPR recently?
Today I ran Ice Gauntlet Blunderbuss, and then I since the patch and then before the patch really, I've been playing Firestaff Void Gauntlet. I just enjoy the playstyle. I like the burstiness of it, and obviously with the patch it got a lot better. So I've been having, I've just been playing that as well. I honestly played a lot of support mage before then, and that's just not fun in OPR because you have to be in a 5-stack to even have any effect on the match. So. And I can't, like, during stream, I don't usually have 5 stacks to run with. So, I definitely understand why a lot of people that play OPR, play bow, play fire staff, play like a, great hatchet, greatsword, light armor gameplay, is because if you try to play anything else solo, like, it's just feeding. You're just like, it just feels like you're on a death simulator. So, outside of maybe like sword and shield. Heavy armor, which is like something I just don't enjoy playing. So
yeah.
But yeah. So overall, I think the changes are good. We both agree there. Well, here's an interesting thing, and this is kind of the final point of the show, and I think something we've talked about a little bit before is the Scott Lane mentioned in Forge Return that they recognize Ward and Bane that are an issue, quote unquote, and that they're working on a solution. So we've talked a lot on the podcast about this, specifically about the gear sets, the amount of gear required to play New World in general, farming that gear out, the randomness of getting it, the crafting system, all those things playing into like a game where like I think is fine to require a lot of gear sets, but New World doesn't really like facilitate that well. So it seems like they're moving not in the direction of facilitating the need of a bunch of gear sets, but reducing the amount of gear that we need. What do you think about that, Bordy? As a change?
I don't know, because I don't know what the change is going to be. He said they might remove some, they might leave it how it is. I mean, he left it very open-ended. It's just something they're looking at. I don't think they have any kind of solution for it yet. So I am not sure what they're going to do about it. I have absolutely no idea. I know that most of the player base, or at least the people that I have talked to, share the sentiment that they don't really like having that much gear. And I think it's very cumbersome for newer players to come in and try to get the Umbrals to bump up those many sets to 625, especially whenever mutations rotate like they do. Like, as a newer player now, if I came into the game, I know I would have a hard time choosing, like, okay, what gear do I need to use my Umbrals on? Because if I'm using my Umbrals on Lazarus this week and I don't have time to get enough runs in to get my set to 625, well, then I'm gonna have to wait until that's back in rotation, or wait until another ancient expedition is back in rotation, and then the only other ancient expeditions are Starstone Barrows and Eniad, and those are both mixed expeditions, which again is another issue that I absolutely hate and I wish they would fix. But one solution that a lot of people say is just have one of each, like an Eternum Ward or an Eternum Bane, and then be done. I think that would affect crafting a lot. I think that would touch a lot of different systems. I don't know if that's the answer. I also have seen the suggestion, and I thought this was a pretty decent middle ground suggestion, is almost have like pare them down into more categories. So like, for example, instead of like human Bane would be a whole category, but it would encompass like Varangians. It would encompass like corrupted and lost, because all of them are kind of like in the same, they're all humanoid-ish, I guess. So then I have them in like categories, so that there's only, instead of there being one for every specific mob type, the mobs are thrown into a category, and then you have like a Bane or a Ward for that category that would reduce the amount you need, which would then allow you to still use that gear whenever, if it was changed. Because right now, if they did change it, a lot of people have already bumped up all their gear. So what would they do? Reimburse us umbrals? I've spent tons of umbrals, hundreds of thousands of umbrals upgrading sets. So if they were to go to one, I mean, it'd be a good thing. I wouldn't really complain about it, but it's like, well, that just feels wasteful for players that have been playing for a long time, because we've spent all our umbrals on all these sets. And then, so what do you do? So I don't know what they're going to do, man. I have no idea what the solution is. I kind of like the middle ground solution of like categories versus specifics, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like this system in place, like, so I like I'm an ARPG enjoyer. It's that category of gaming is like basically like a loot pinata type of thing, and I really like kind of enjoyed the idea that New World might try to take aspects of ARPGs, such as like like a lot of gear and a lot of drops, and they've kind of embraced that with like the M10 system, and then I think they're trying with PvP, like with the PvP reward track and then the OPR rewards and everything like that. I like the idea of getting a butt ton of loot on a regular basis and sifting through it and trying to find things that are useful. But the New World system really, especially with like all the weapon perks you need to be efficient with those weapons, like you said, the Banes, like that we've all had to like struggle through to get sets that we can even run M10s with, or in the wards and everything like that. Like there is no way, number one, in the game that you can manage those sets, because even now with gear sets in there, it's still just a poop show. Like I've calmed down a lot since, but it's like the gear set system is it's still bad. It really is. Like today, I just had to remove one of my sets to put so I could run Laz, and it's like, what's the point of this? You know what I mean? It's not a solution really. If I need 20 or 30 sets to play the game, give me the systems required to make this like fun. And that also includes like a I don't mind the randomness of crafting, but man, you've been there, I've been there, we've all been there. I've spent 800, and I'm not joking, this is an exact number, unfortunately, 850,000 gold rolling a blunderbuss for PvP that I've never got. I still don't have one. I still don't have it. I still have terrible blunderbusses. And it's like, that is so, like, I'm not a casual player. I have 3,500 hours in the live server. I have like around 500 to 600 in the PTR. I have probably me and you probably played like 1,500 hours in the alpha and the beta. Like, I'm not a casual player by any extent. Imagine playing New World and trying to get one PvP set to play PvP, or like to potentially be in a war. You know what I mean? To try out for a war roster and having that experience. You know what I mean?
You can't. Yeah.
You can't play, and that's the problem with New World, I think. The ward system, the accessibility, like on an in-game level, there's too many barriers there. And that's why I think the game, when you bring those casual people in for like events like Brimstone and Return to Eternum and stuff like that, and they don't stick around, is because the end game really is so unaccessible for anybody casual. wars, M10s, like upgrading. Like imagine grinding out like your mutation gear, like your corrupted mutation gear, and finding out you have to do that like 8 more times. Like, you know what I mean? Like 4 or 5 more times. Like if you want to DPS or heal, you have to then multiply that. It's like, I don't know, man. It's crazy. Me and you have done it because we play the game like an actual butt ton. I have healing sets and DPS sets for every ward, except for human, which I haven't done yet, and kind of, it's kind of being lazy about. But again, like even I don't really want to do the human thing at this point.
Yeah, well,
I just don't want to go read through it. So it's like,
yeah, I haven't went and got my human trophies yet either. I've been dragging my feet there for sure. I did get Imperium Forge up to M10, and I agree. Like I have sets for everything too, but you're right. We play the game an absolute just a ton. And I just think about myself. Like I put myself in. I do this often whenever I'm playing video games. Like now that we do this full time, it's like, well, if I put myself into my shoes a couple years ago, whenever I'm a CPA and I'm coming home and I've got
exactly
2 or 3 hours at night. This is my hobby, man. This is what I like to come home and do. I want to come home. I want to enjoy a video game. I come home. I log into New World. I'm going to be blatantly honest right now, man. And this may be something that I shouldn't say, but I'm going to say it anyway. I would have quit the game a long time ago. Because the barriers to entry in that type of in-game system are so hard and so bad that I would have quit. I would have realized real quick, like this is the end game. Like the whole political nonsense with territory control is absolute garbage. It honestly is. That might be harsh, but it's true. It is really true. The end game of New World, there is no true in-game loop. It is very difficult for people to get in there, and those are like I think you keyed this term or what is it? You made up this term a while ago. Core player. Whenever we're talking about like casual versus hardcore, and then you have like the core player base, which is what I would consider myself a few years ago or a couple years ago. Whenever I came out, a dedicated player, but you only have like 3 hours a night to play, but you play every single night. That should be enough time to invest into a game to make valid, significant progress over a course of a couple months or whatever. You should be in there, you should be, and in New World you just can't do that. And then you have the whole issue of players locking other players out of content, which just feels real bad. And for a grown man coming into a game, sitting down trying to play a video game, there's no shot in the world that I'm going to have some 21-year-old, 18-year-old, no offense to them, tell me that I can't get into a war and enjoy the game the way I want to enjoy it. Like, screw that. So now you wonder why these people leave your game, after they played for a little while. Why can't you retain population? Why is it that New World has these major upticks and then these incredibly hard downticks? Well, that's why. Because they have the recipe for mega success, and then in-game is atrocious. And then people get in there and they realize they can't play it. 85% of your player base is going to leave because 85% of your player base does not sit here and play your game 12 hours a day. 85% of your player base is not going to go beg their way into a war roster. 85% of the player base is not going to want to sit down at 7 o'clock p.m. to be in a invasion. It's not going to happen. The in-game loop of New World has to be adjusted at some point if they want this game to be a successful mega MMO, or it'll forever be a niche MMO. And that's just how it is. So, yeah, I agree. In-game is not great. It needs to be adjusted.
Well, and then they've taught. So here's like to be like more constructive, I guess. One of the things they talked about is squishing the mutation system. I think that's definitely needed, like for further progression in the game. They, we won't even talk about like needing a weekly raid lockout right now because we're talking about the wards and stuff and resilient. But they definitely need to squish that a little bit because for new players coming in, being at M10 or M1 and starting your mutations and not having it, like trying to form a group to get an M1 done, especially on the low pop servers, not even to mention that is impossible. And that's the primary source of umbral shards. And obviously, you don't really get to the main increase in umbral shards from your from the gypsum system until you're like 625, right? That's when you start to form the get more umbrals. So yeah, that just, there's a huge barrier there for players. And then PvP, The amount of money it takes to, and I know people say like, oh, 2-perk gear. Yeah, it's viable, but like, that's not what the game's built around. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you want, like, everybody wants to get into good gear. You know what I mean? And it's hard for people to digest the fact that, there is some barrier there of entry with like getting a good PvP set and stuff, and then needing resilient, which is like, to me, and people are talking about World of Warcraft and stuff. World of Warcraft is different than New World in a way that, there's classes. And when you're a warlock, you basically get your PvE gear and you get your PvP gear, right? And then it's done. And New World has, X amount of weapons, X amount of activities that you need different pieces of gear with, and it is much different, because not only is there not like a raid, because that's usually how you do it in World of Warcraft. You know exactly how to get your gear. Is usually, yeah, it takes a while for you to get BIS, but there are a lot of things that you can do that are, pretty cut and dry on how you get the gear, where New World is much different. There's a lot of randomness involved with getting a lot of pieces of gear. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. They're not even comparable games. I don't really think New World and World of Warcraft, they're much different. It can't really be, other than being an MMO. I don't think it's even similar. But again, a switch to the M10 system, figuring out a solution for the ward, the gear management, and the ward, and the resilient, and the perks and stuff. That I think New World will need to figure out something. Because the expansion's coming up, Bordy. The next time, as a seasoned or like a veteran player, I truly believe the next really big chance that New World has to make a splash in a large player base MMO pool is the expansion in fall. That's when they're going to make a lot of different changes, like similar to the Brimstone patch, and that's really, I think, a lot of those changes leading up to that big expansion are how well New World will hold players once that thing comes out.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I think that they have a mega opportunity to draw in a lot of players with the expansion. I mean, they have the marketing power. They have all this thing we've seen with Brimstone, and I think that a lot of people will come back for the expansion. I just hope some of this stuff is sorted out before, and I'm not so sure it will be. I think the timeline for that is pretty short, but I don't know. Hopefully they're working on some things behind the scenes. I surely hope so. They have mounts coming up, which are a big deal, and I hope some things change before those come in, because right now, if mounts were just thrown in the game, nothing would change. You'd have mounts, but nothing would really change. So if mounts were thrown in the game right now, would it do anything for the game? Like, I really don't think it would.
Well, other than if we all think that the animal husbandry system's coming in with the mount, so that would change the way you play the game. But having a mount, no, it wouldn't do anything different other than speed up getting to what.
Even that though, I don't think
Orichalcum nodes. Gathering would be the only thing affected by mounts at this point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's objective. That's objective. The only thing that would change is gathering. The mounts would change is gathering at this point.
Yeah, which is why I think they have some fundamental issues they really need to work out with the game in order for it to be a mega success. And I think New World is right on the cusp of being there, man. They have such a unique opportunity. They have such a unique game. It's an incredible world. It's beautiful. The combat's super fun. There's a lot going on for it. It just needs an in-game loop, man. A lot of the in-game activities need to be adjusted. They need to be more accessible for new players, for more casual style players. As much as people don't want to hear that word, and people that play hardcore don't want to hear that. It is the truth, man. If you want the MMO to grow and you want it to be big, like, most people are not people that play the game for 10 hours a day. It just doesn't happen. And I think New World has such a strong base of players right now. They could really grow upon that and grow this game if some things were changed with in-game. So hopefully it'll happen. We'll see what happens, dude. I don't know. They have the work cut out for them. I really hope that the expansion is good. I hope that it's great. I hope it brings back a lot of players. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, I don't know. They got a lot of work to do, I think.
Yeah. It'll be interesting from now. From now until then, we do have the Worm raid boss, which will be interesting to see what that's like. But for the most part, it'll be these little patches, like the adjustment to armor, the way armor works, like the big patch with that they insist. I'm not talking about season passes, which I think is a very significant thing that'll be good for the game in the long term. But the meta changes and the adjustments that they made with it, that will shape, I think, in the most important part of New World when it comes to the pre-expansion and leading up to the expansion. How well or how fun is it to play New World on a regular basis when it gets down to it for players that, once you reach in game, there's that big leap, you know what I mean? From leveling, which we all think is fun. I enjoy leveling in MMOs. It's one of the best parts of an MMO is gaining power and progress as you go. But then once players experience that, they expect in game to be close to the amount of reward, provide the amount of rewarding feelings that leveling does at in game. So hopefully New World can figure that out, because right now I think there's some pretty big barriers for players. So
yeah, without a doubt.
All right, that does it, I think. Anything else you want to talk about before we end the podcast?
No, I think we covered everything, dude. I think that's it.
All right. Well, again, you can find all of our content over at studioloot.com, our written content, and newworldfans.com. We also have our map, our interactive map, newworld-map.com. Go check that out as well. And then, Bordy, anything else you want to add here?
No, I'm good, man. It was fun. Good podcast. Fun episode. I still am looking forward to the future of New World. I still play the game. I still will play the game, but hopefully they make some changes to make us all happy.
Yeah, and I know the podcasts sometimes have a negative context where we both try to be as constructive as possible. I still like New World. I want the game to succeed. I think it has a ton of potential, and I think being honest with where it's at, it's important, so that they do hear like some sort of like non-forum constructive criticism from the player base, from the community, that they can kind of use to shape New World's future. And we're still doing the podcast, we're still playing the game. We're not like, we don't just come back every week to poop on the game and then go play whatever. So
yeah, play it every day. I just
want to make sure that that's clear. All right, guys, thanks for listening. We appreciate you guys, and we'll see you on another episode of New World to Go.